Alright, I wanted to make another video real quick, um, in a video making mood. This time I wanted to talk about backpacks. I went with the Hyperlite 40 liter. I think it was the 2400 series. I could be mistaken. I can't remember exactly. But I went with it because basically the person, what got me wanting to hike the trail was a YouTube video called 2014 Through Hiker Documentary, and it was made by Terry Michael Coyle, Trail Name 7, and he's through hike the trail, I think once legitimately, maybe twice, but he goes out every year, or he had gone out every year for about 10 years, something like that. And he knew his shit. He knew his shit, and he went with that pack. I would say don't go with that pack. That may be because I had too much weight in it at the start. At the start, it was about 45 pounds. When I was at Amicalola Falls, it weighed out at 45 pounds, which was the max weight for that pack. Excuse me. Freaking indigestion. Yeah, it was it's basically a bare necessity type pack. It's a potato sack with straps is what it is. There's no framing whatsoever, which, you're not going to find. An ultralight pack is not going to have a frame system, and you don't want that. You don't want added weight. The only thing this had as far as a frame was like two aluminum alloy, whatever the hell they were, type rods that went down the backbone on each side. And I didn't like the pack. The straps were only about 1.75 inches wide, the shoulder straps, and because of the sternum strap, what would end up happening was the sternum strap would connect from strap to strap, coming across your sternum, and to tighten it properly would end up causing this shoulder strap on my left shoulder to this shoulder, my left shoulder, freaking everything's backwards. It would cause this strap to curl up on itself. It was like a U. It became like a U shape. So here you have 1.75 inch strap, but then it's curled up to where it's like 1 inch, maybe. And it was really hard on my back. And if I could dig out my old shirt, that's probably somewhere in the back of my car, the right side of my shirt that I wore mainly was completely torn, just tattered to shit. Because of the rubbing, the way it rubbed, and it was the bottom part of the pack was a different material than the top part, and it caused friction. So as I walked, the pack was bouncing up and down. No matter how tight I could get it, it was bouncing up and down, and that constant friction caused my shirt to tear open, and then it started to bounce up and down on my back, and then caused really bad chafing on my back. I came across, there was one guy I came across, I can't remember his name. I came across him in, where the hell was it at? Damn it, I wish I'd have thought that through before starting this video. It was it was the 500-mile mark in Virginia. I can't believe it's like I have a brain fart right now. It's the town that you go into when you first get to Virginia. It's the main freaking town, and for some reason I can't think of it. I keep thinking something with a D. I keep wanting to say Duncannon, and I know that's not right. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, I was at something, something Fiddle, Hostel. I can't remember. God, I'm going to feel like such an asshole, because after I finish making this video, I'm going to end up doing the research and probably post it in the comment section on what I'm talking about. But, yeah, it was, I came across somebody, and they had this pack that was 4 pounds. but it had the whole suspension system, and everything was like the straps, the load lifter straps, all that. And I put it on, and it was packed with like 40 pounds of gear, and I put it on and it felt like nothing. But then I put my pack on, which would be about 30 pounds with just gear, and maybe 38 pounds with food and water, 40 pounds tops, and it felt like shit. Like those Hyperlite packs, you have to be a ultralight hiker for them to work. They are not good. Do not buy it just because, like, my pack was like 1.75 pounds, and Seven in his video was like, if you have a pack that weighs more than 2 pounds, you got the wrong pack. But and I listened to that, but what I didn't understand was that he's speaking from a through hiker sense. Like, he knows what he needs and what he doesn't need. He spent years dialing down what he needs and what he doesn't need. When you go out there initially, if you've never done any long distance hiking, you're not going to know what you need and you don't need. You're going to be heavy. You're probably going to be carrying 10 pounds of excess gear that within a month you're going to get rid of. But even setting that aside, you want a pack that's going to be comfortable. You want the padding. Like Z packs, from what I saw out there, I saw women that probably weighed 120 pounds carrying 60 pounds of gear, and they would fly by me up a hill or down a hill like it wasn't nothing. And I'm just sitting there, like, they would blow by me and I'm laughing. Like, there were times where I would laugh out loud because I couldn't help it. So I'm looking at this tiny human that's just blowing by me with twice as much gear and a pack that is 3 times the size as my pack, but it's not affecting them the way that my pack was. So I honestly would say don't go with Hyperlite. And I know a few people out there. I hiked with a guy named Granite that was carrying a Hyperlite. His was, I think, a 60 liter or something like that, 65, whatever. I can't remember. And not only that, but my straps, they were breaking. Like the male and female parts that would connect, like, they were breaking off. It was like, it just, and I wasn't misusing the gear. I wasn't like using it in the way it wasn't designed to be used. But stuff was just breaking. I had to keep stuff on the outside of my pack because the 40 liter wasn't enough. The only reason I went with the 40 liter was because the guy Seven said that the bigger your pack is, the more likely you're going to carry things that you don't need because you're going to want to fill the pack up. So I was like, okay, well, if I go with a 40 liter, I can only put so much in it, so that's going to help me to make sure that I only carry what I need, which is a good philosophy. It's just not with those packs. Like, there's the hip straps were miserable. The pockets couldn't fit damn near anything in them. There's just so many better packs out there than Hyperlite. I'd hate to say it. Hyperlite, I'm not saying Hyperlite is a bad pack. I'm not saying that it's a bad manufacturer. I'm saying for my mentality or type of style, they just didn't work for me. They just didn't. It was too bare bones. There were so many other packs I saw that had some, like, really good hip straps, very good padding, big pockets you could fit your snacks and stuff in. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that I had cargo pants, I wouldn't have been able to carry my snacks in my pockets. It was like I would have had to have taken off my pack every time I wanted to eat something. And some packs had side pouches to put your water bladder in, your bladder in it, or your water bottle. If you were carrying like a smart water bottle or something like that, you could fit them in there. You could fit the bottles in the Hyperlite that I was carrying. I think it was, like I said, the 2400 series. The problem was you couldn't reach them. It's like, you're trying to like reach behind the side and you couldn't get to it. So I ended up actually having to like rig stuff up. I ended up buying other types of systems, like little I carried a 20-ounce Coke bottle and I had it strapped to my left shoulder strap so that I always had 20 ounces of water. And then generally every few hours I'd get to a water source, and I would want to refill my water bottle. So I would take the water that was in my pack on the back, and I would transfer it to my Coke bottle that was on my shoulder strap, and then I would refill that liter with dirty water that I would then treat. It was like I really had to do a lot of maintenance to make my pack work, and it was failing all the time. And the pack was supposed to be damn near waterproof. Not quite waterproof, but damn near waterproof. And it wasn't. The main reason I bought it was because Hyperlite claimed that you wouldn't need to have a pack cover, because the pack was made of carbon fiber, so it was damn near waterproof. And it just wasn't. Like, shit was getting wet all the time. So then I had to start carrying, I would use a trash bag as a pack liner. I didn't like the pack covers. I had them. I didn't like them. I would just put a trash bag or contractor bag inside my bag and then put everything else in there and then roll it up tight, then cinch my bag down. So pack liners, I think, are better than pack covers. Little side note there. But yeah, I would not go with the Hyperlite. I would go with Z-Pack or, I can't think of the other. There was another one that was a big name. Maybe I'll do the research and post it in like the description if I can figure out how to do that. But Z-Packs were good, and there was something else that was good. But yeah, Hyperlite, if you're watching this, that means you're not a long distance hiker. So I would say just don't go with it, because you sacrifice. Unless most people on the trail, I think any thru hiker would agree, most people at best get their pack weight down to about 30 pounds with food and water. And that's the other thing. You're going to hear people say, "What's your pack weight? What's your base weight?" Base weight means what is your weight without food and water. That's what a lot of people consider it. Your base weight is what is it without food and water. Well, what's the point on weighing a pack without food and water? You're never going to not have food and water. So your base weight should be, what is your weight with 2 to 3 days worth of water? So, the water, obviously that's going to, if you're carrying 2 liters on average constantly, that's 4 pounds. If you got 3 days of food, figure 2 pounds per day, that's 6 pounds. So you're going to look at an extra 10 pounds of food and water. So if you can get your pack weight down to 30 pounds, you're going to be looking at 40 with food and water. And that's the thing about doing a thru hike on the AT. And this is what, again, any other thru hiker would understand, and any other thru hiker would agree. When you go into town, you're always going downhill. Because the towns down south, they're called, up north they're called notches. Down south, they're called, I've only been off the trail for a few months and I've forgotten everything. I can't remember. But anyway, when you go into a town, you're basically going to be going downhill coming off of a mountain. Then you resupply, and then you got to climb back out the next day. So you're climbing out with a fully loaded pack, but you're going into town empty. So it's always easy to go into a town. It's hard to go out of a town. So don't worry so much about your initial weight of your pack. If you sacrifice your initial weight of your pack to get, a Hyperlite, what you're going to be sacrificing is comfort. Because this pack is that's what's going to allow you to bring everything that you need over the 2,200 mile course of your hike. Make sure that pack is comfortable. Make sure it fits right. Do not buy it online if you don't have to. I bought mine online. It didn't fit right. That, you really don't know about. As far as fittings go, it depends on your weight. But I lost 60 pounds in 3 months. So your pack is going to fit differently at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. So trying to get a pack that fits perfectly really isn't, that's another thing that I think is something that people concern themselves with a little bit too much, because your body is going to change in a way that if your pack doesn't fit right at the beginning, it might fit right a few months later. If it fits right at the beginning, it won't fit a few months down the road because your body's going to change. Unless you're already in peak physical conditioning and your body's going to stay pretty much the same, your body's going to change. So that's something that you have to figure out and deal with. But yeah, I wouldn't go with Hyperlite. And everybody that I hiked with that had Hyperlite said the same exact thing. They are a great pack if you're familiar with through hikes and with long distance hikes, and you already have got a few thousand miles under your belt, and you know what to carry, and you know you're actually a bigger part of the hiker community, and you know what works and what doesn't. But if you're coming out to hike the AT or the PCT or whatever, and it's your first long distance hike, I would just get the extra weight and get something that's going to be comfortable, because the Hyperlite is it's brutal on your body. I mean, it was painful to carry. I mean, it really was. It was not comfortable. That's just the only way I can put it. It was not comfortable. So, like I said, I can't speak on other packs. I can only speak on my gear. And what I can say about the Hyperlite was I was not impressed. Not saying there's anything wrong with Hyperlite. What I'm saying is that it didn't work for me because I wasn't. Hyperlite is designed as an ultralight style pack. It's not designed for 45. It might have a max weight at 45 pounds. Doesn't mean you're supposed to carry 45 pounds, but I was. Even down the road when I was down to 30 pounds, I mean, I got rid of my sleeping bag, I got rid of extra clothing, I got rid of all kinds of stuff, and I was still probably at 30-pound base weight without food and water. The pack just wasn't designed for that. So, you know, it is what it is, but that's something to keep in mind if you're planning to do a hike. You know, don't focus too much on trying to cut weight when you're buying your gear. You'll figure that out once you get out there, but your pack needs to make it to 2,200 miles. So if it needs to be a little bit heavier, if it has a proper suspension system, you're not going to feel the weight anyway. And the Hyperlites didn't. They didn't have that. They had no sort of real, like, decent suspension system. It was just two narrow straps, a horrible hip strap, and a bullshit sternum strap. And it just felt like shit. And it was hard as hell to bring that 1,600 miles. So I would steer away from that unless it's something that you're familiar with. So, see ya.